Dear colleagues, we continue our working day, and I give the floor to the Ministry of Defense spokesperson, Lieutenant Dmytro Gutsulyak. Good morning, dear guests. I'm glad to see you at our press conference. Ukrainian Parliament adopted law on amendments to the state budget, to a law on state budget of Ukraine for year 2016. According to the law, the military budget allocations are increased in 7,100,000,000 Ukrainian hryvnias. In particular, the Ministry of Defense will receive 3,800,000,000 hryvnias of additional budget allocations. 27 regulatory acts are currently analyzed in the executive authorities. These acts were created by the Ministry of Defense. Among them, 11 are presidential orders on reforms implementation in defense sector. These orders introduce amendments to provision on the general staff of the armed forces of Ukraine, regulation of activities of the general headquarters, reducing number of senior officers staff in the Ministry of Defense and the Armed Forces of Ukraine, implementation of medical military doctrine, as well as provision of territory defense, as well as some other regulatory acts on defense. In total, the President of Ukraine, the Ukrainian Parliament, and the Cabinet of Ministers have adopted 67 draft laws prepared by the Ministry of Defense. Yesterday, General Stepan Poltorak, General of Ukrainian Army, started his visit to Sweden. Stepan Poltorak held official meetings with the Sweden Ministry of Defense, Peter Hultqvist, and Sweden Head of General Staff, General Lieutenant Dennis Gulenspora. The sides discussed challenges of current security situation, development of cooperation between Ukraine and NATO after Warsaw Summit, as well as current state of things and perspectives of strengthening bilateral cooperation. It's worth mentioning that this is the first visit of Ukrainian Minister of Defense to Sweden since the time of independence. Today, Stepan Poltorak is in Estonia with an official visit. During his visit, he will hold bilateral meetings in Tallinn with Estonian Minister of Defense Hannes Hansson, as well as Commander of Estonian Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Riik Teres, and government representatives. As well, during this visit, General Stepan Poltorak will meet wounded Ukrainian soldiers that are on medical rehabilitation in Estonia, and he will give remuneration to Ukrainian doctors and Estonian volunteers. The Committee of Reforms in the Ministry of Defense continues reforms according to strategic and tactical plans of Ukrainian Defense Bulletin. The measure of strategic goals, metrics, and implementation of main reforms according to the Strategic Defense Bulletin are detailed in a roadmap for years 2016-2020. This roadmap of defense reform is published on the official website of the Ministry of Defense. To ensure systematic activity of the Committee of Reforms, 6-month plans and monthly plans were created for subcommittees, and regular meetings are held. According to the roadmap, the Ministry of Defense finished its work on development of Ukrainian armed forces and passed it to the central executive authorities. The key issues of reform program documents are related to ensuring sufficient resources for defense. in the Armed Forces of Ukraine continues implementation of reform roadmap for 2016-2020. For example, in the Land Forces of Ukraine started implementation of regulatory documents and preparation of experts able to assess level of military preparation of various units according to NATO standards. The ministry continues introducing the contemporary complexes miles. The Land Forces of Ukraine has received nearly 500 units of military equipment since the beginning of this year, and repairing brigades of the Land Forces of Ukraine has renovated nearly 2,600 units of military equipment, and among them nearly 200 units of tanks and armored vehicles, 450 units of artillery, and nearly 2,000 cars. There are plans to renovate 160 units of artillery. Nearly 9,200 reserve servicemen have been trained during military exercise, and goes on implementation of laws on creating human resources in the army. Digital equipment have been introduced into communication points for the air defense forces and air forces of Ukraine. Later, these permanent points of equipment have to be equipped with new digital equipment in order to create a unified information space. To renovate potential of the Marine Forces of Ukraine, Ukraine continues their training to make the Marine able to respond threats in Black Sea and Azov Seas, in the territorial waters of Ukraine, as well as ensure as well as participation in NATO and EU multinational operations. The Ministry of Defense develops infrastructure plan for the Ministry of Defense. Regulatory acts are being developed to regulate activity of special operation forces of Ukraine according to NATO standards. The ministry started work on development program for special operation forces and continuous work on equipping special operation forces with new arms and military equipment in order to ensure that special operation forces have achieved operative and combat capacity. Since the beginning of the ATO, as of 6 October 2016, 16,168 servicemen received encouraging awards from the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. As of today, the combatant status was given to 181,000 servicemen and staff members of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. This is all. Thank you. The press briefing is over. Dear colleagues, the next event is at 12:30.